So I feel like every kid has gone through a phase where they just like to build shit and like rip things apart and then make them anew.
Okay.
Like, am I wrong in thinking that? Did not everybody have that phase?
No,
Technically, I never outgrew it.
My
Okay.
kids are just in the tear it apart. They haven't figured out to put it together.
Okay, well then I'll say this. What is the most creative thing you as a child ever ripped apart, built again, tinkered with, what have you? Or what is the worst thing that your children have ever ripped apart that you have owned, that you've been mad about, that was ripped apart, to figure out how it works?
For me, it was part of my script later is some of the things I've torn apart and rebuilt as a kid. So I did an old toaster. I've done the VCR. I've done those. But I think the big one was I was having troubles with 1992 Winter Olympics on our Commodore 64, and I was getting mad at it. I was 10 years old, and I ripped apart my dad's Commodore 64 to figure out what the hell was going on.
No.
Yeah. So my entire family are big computer nerds. I'm the one who's all like, I would prefer to work with saws.
You were the weird one.
I was the weird one by going into the trades. The rest of my family are sysadmins. So it ended up being this fun little project that me and my dad kind of bonded over, of putting the 64 back together and getting the game working, because that was one of my favorite games when I was a kid, funny enough. As for my children, all of their breaking has been through blunt force trauma, and there is no coming back from that.
You don't fix that sort of stuff.
No.
That's my house as well. For me, it was all about Lego. I just liked building whatever I could out of the weirdest pieces possible. It wasn't like the electronics or things like that, but Lego was my take it apart, rebuild it, and make something new.
I straight up was the spaceship guy from the Lego movie.
That's
at 12, just spaceship.
Love that. I love that for you. I was not the person that ripped things apart. It was my brother that did. But I grew up as a child with my brother who would build traps constantly. If you opened a door, you would get shot by a Nerf gun kind of traps. And this kid was probably awesome. 5 or 6 years old.
Somebody saw Home Alone and took it to heart and was 100%. This is a life plan.
Yeah, that was my brother in a nutshell. So I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate tinkerers. Not a fan. I have a fear.
How did you make it through an entire campaign with Lockie?
Barely. She lost the leg. So
I mean, you're welcome. I built you a leg too.
Thank you.
Got a newer, better one.
Is it though? Is it?
I mean, was it lost and broken?
No, it was fine by the end of it. I mean, it depends on if they picked it up off the bottom of the cliff you jumped out of.
You shot it off with an arrow that exploded, did you not?
Your leg. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the prosthetic. That when we were just trying to kill gods, you jumped out a window.
I did. I do those things. Those are things that I do.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's a Mimic, the round table Dungeons and Dragons discussion, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome to another episode in our conversation on classes. I'm Dan, and with me today are Megan and Brad, and this episode is called Artificers, Comprehension of Invention, not to mention attention to intention and extension of convention.
Wow, that was well done.
First try.
Yeah, now watch me stumble over 4-letter words later. We've previously covered the Alchemist, Artillerist, and Battlesmith in our first Artificer episode, which started off with a breakdown of the regular class features and level progression. You can find that episode as well as our other class episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and dozens of other podcast apps. Or alternatively, you could jump over to YouTube and dig into the entire playlist on classes that we've built there. So this episode, we're going back to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything to cover the last Artificer subclass option listed there before the glorious and sexy panel of Dungeon Masters, thanks Adam, crafts together some unique perspectives about the 16 different Artificer Infusions that there are for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So, Megan, Brad, have you had a chance yet to play an Artificer? And if not, are you interested?
I have not had the chance. It is the one class that I want to play most, but it's one of those ones that's harder to fit into a campaigner party.
Well, we had one.
Yeah, you killed him with a fireball.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Easy to kill. Get rid of. I've never played them either. In fact, I don't think I've ever really read about them, to be honest with you.
Really?
Maybe it's my internal fear of people that build random things that are random stuff. I don't know. But I maybe from a role playing perspective, reading about them Perhaps. Maybe I'll change my mind by the end of this episode. But right now, not something I'm totally interested in.
Well, let's hope to sell you on this one. So what we're going to start off with is the lore of the Artificers. And now Artificers, like you are afraid of, Megan, are the inventors of the D&D sphere who take engineering and magic and mix it together into a wonderful slurry of creation. Magic isn't a simple code to unlock or learn to your Artificer, but rather an intensely complex machine needing to be torn apart and put back together, just like, see, it's part of my script, my family's old toaster, VCR, Commodore 64, and one time, the dishwasher after I flooded the house. That happened twice.
It does not surprise me.
No.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No. Now, using the much forgotten tool set of D&D, no, literally they use toolkits like the Tinker's Kit and the Chef's Kit as their focus for their arcane machinations. These Adam Savages in studded leather are aching to beat someone over the head with a wrench, as I am, nearly daily. Adam. But seriously, they must use a tool set in the casting of their spells. Should you roll one of these enigmatic engineers, you should be aware of what kit or tool you would use to cast every single spell or ability that you use. The book gives some suggestions. A cure wounds spell is just your character hastily mixing a potion with an alchemist kit. Silent image is a tinkered together mechanism tossed on the ground that self-destructs at the end of the spell. Every spell can be justified with just about any artisan tool kit that you could get. I'd recommend when you select your spells, make a note as to which way your character uses which tool to cast that spell. This will help you fill in the blanks and add some always helpful flair to your character's attitude and roleplay. All fantastic machines in a D&D campaign have, at one point, had an artificer's hands on it. Flying airships, light rails, guns, automatons, or clockwork conveniences all stem from these out-of-the-box thinker tinkers. But you gotta start from somewhere. So for the uninitiated, let's break down the mechanics of the class real quick as they're presented in Tasha's Soup of Some Stuff. So, because it's Cauldron of everything.
Yeah, no,
some stuff.
Giggling to myself over here.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping.
We're just ignoring you.
Why? I got weird with some of this stuff. All right. Anyways.
Hi.
So starting stuff in the soup, you are a D8 hit point half caster character, which means your guys should basically blur the lines between a martial and a caster. Okay, you kind of stand mid-line as a artificer. This is supported by proficiency in light, medium armor and shields and simple weapons. You are also proficient in thieves' tools, tinker tools, as well as one additional type of artificer's tools. Use this last one to really breathe some unique life into the character. Since you're smart, but prone to accidents, your saving throws are int and con. And you can be proficient in 2 of either Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, or Sleight of Hand. At first level, you get spells and magical tinkering. That's it. You don't get infusions yet. For spells, you get cantrips, which are base level spells that function slightly different than your normal spells, and normal spells. You prepare spells like a cleric or druid, which I find particularly interesting considering they're kind of more arcane and int-based feel here. But you prepare spells equal to half your artificer level plus your int mod rounded down per day. You can then cast from this pool of prepared spells with your spell slots as you wish. As for magical tinkering, you use your tools to create a fun or useful effect on a tiny non-magical item as an action. You can have it shed a light, store a message, make a smell or nonverbal sound, or have it show a picture of up to 25 words of text or simple line art. This property lasts indefinitely, but you can only have one item run that one property at a time. However, nicely, it is an action to strip the magic from that item. At second level, you get to learn to infuse an item with further magic. This is kind of like a Warlock's Invocations meets magic items. You get a selection of 4 at the start, but can only have a couple going at a time. This grows as you level, of course, giving you 12 known infusions and 6 active infusions at any given time. Third level brings your Artificer specialization or your subclass and the right tools for the job, which lets you create any artisan kit you want with an hour of uninterrupted work with your thieves tools or another set of artisan tools on hand. Fourth, like anything else, gets you your ASI before your 6th level ability, which gives you expertise in all tools that you're proficient with. This includes thieves tools. Okay, so double proficiency with thieves tools.
An expert.
Yeah. At 7th level, you can have a Flash of Genius that lets you use your reaction to give yourself or another creature within 30 feet a bonus to a skill check or saving throw equal to your intelligence modifier. And you can do that a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. 10th level, your skill with magic items is so adept, it's called magic item adept, that you can attune with 4 items, and it gives you a bonus on creating your own magic items, taking a quarter of the time and half the gold as standard. 11th level lets you store a spell in an object, be it a weapon or an item that you can use as a spell focus. You then drop a spell from your spell list, no wizards charging this for you, of either 1st or 2nd level into that item and can cast that spell later through that item. Actually, well, anybody can cast that spell, should they know the trigger and are holding onto the item. They'd use your spellcasting modifiers as their own when casting a spell and would have to concentrate if the spell required it. Now, that spell will stay charged in that item until, regardless of who casts it, cast that spell twice your int mod, or until you store a different spell or into a different item. At 14th level, you become a savant with magic items and can now attune to 5 items at once, as well as ignore any race, class, spell, or level requirements for attuning. 18th level makes you a magic item master, now being able to attune with twice as many items as your average PC at 6. And finally, your capstone 20th level ability gives you the Soul of the Artifice, which gives you +1 to all saves per item you're attuned to, so up to a +6 to all saves. And should you be dropped to 0 hit points, you can use your reaction to basically disenchant one of your active infusions to instead be at 1 hit point. So that's what we have for the general run of the mill for Artificers in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Megan, let's go over the last subclass that we have now. Let's go over the Armorer. What do you got?
The Armorer. So it's exactly as it sounds like. So I'm going to start with a quote from Tasha's because I feel like it fits really well. And that is, and I quote, "Classic Artificer, logic right here. What if, where our invention goes explosively wrong, we are inside of it?"
Very nice. Very nice.
And it kind of killed me inside. It was great.
It's
So
delightful.
yeah, and again, it's exactly as it sounds. They are bonded to their armor, always striving to increase its durability, its magical capabilities, and sometimes even basically launch attacks from the armor itself.
You're Iron Man.
Yeah, you're basically Iron Man with this
Yeah,
very much
amazing
so.
like suit of armor. And like I feel Artificers bode a certain kind of level of obsession when it comes to tinkering. So I feel like this character's opening line, no matter where you meet, would be like, "Have you seen my armor and what it can do? Have you seen my jacket? My jacket. Have you seen it?"
This is Mark 28.
Absolutely. So to break it down a little bit further, you kind of went over the basics, but there are a couple of extra things that come with being an armorer tinkerer. So at level 3, you do get tools of the trade, which is proficiency in heavy armor, if you don't have it already, obviously, as well as in smithing tools. So kind of checks out your
Yep.
building armor.
Yep.
However, if you already have those proficiencies in smithing tools, you can actually gain a proficiency in one of the other artificer tools. So you're not kind of like locked into what it gives you, and if you already have it, too bad, so sad, which I think is nice. Yeah. And then the spells that you get as an armorer is at 3rd level, you get Magic Missile and Thunder Wave. I kind of feel like the theme of thunder fits because you're smithing armor, and I'm thinking like Thor's hammer style smithing armor with like lightning to meld your metals together.
So are the magic missiles like the palm blasters?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
how I
Palm
would-
blasters, like your chest
Like-
piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming out your armored in one way or another. You can figure out where.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Pull my finger.
Gross. At 5th level, you get Mirror Image and Shatter.
Okay, that
which
tracks.
Yeah, I thought that was a really funny one, just to like break it. At 9th level, you get Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolts. Again, I feel a little bit thematic.
Yep.
And then at 13th level, you get Fire Shield, which I guess it's a shield, but like, I
I
mean, I
mean-
feel it's weird that they implement. I guess because
It's
you're
armor,
firing
right?
metals.
Your
Yeah.
your armor at this point, right? You're looking for something to defend yourself. It makes sense to me.
Well, the shield made sense from the armoring, but like the
Yeah.
fact that we switched from lightning to thunder, like sorry, from lightning to fire was
Yeah.
like at first I was like, that's stupid. But now that I think about it more, it kind of makes sense.
You just need to add a flamethrower to the wrist.
100%. Why not? you're
Artificers get
tinkerer.
burning hands.
They sure
Yeah.
do.
That's true. Sorry, and at 13th level, you also get greater invisibility.
Which is wild.
So you just get a stealth kit.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, you can. Well, I like to think of it as like a cloaking mechanism on the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I don't know. I'm with it, but I'm also not with it because I feel like as a character who's played a lot of heavy armored characters, being invisible and not noticeable is a very hard thing to do. And I feel like that comes with being that kind of character. So I feel like you're giving them a free out to be able to be sneaky.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But then again, at 13th level, that's a pretty high spell to cast just to be invisible for a day, right? So
Now is it invisibility whenever?
I'd
No.
have to look. No.
No, it's spell
It's a-
counts, right? Because you're still using the spell slots. It's just one of the spells that you know.
Oh, okay.
And your greater invisibility only lasts a minute, right? It's not like a long lasting
Is it greater or standard invisibility?
greater
It-
invisibility.
Yeah.
Greater
Okay.
invisibility.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit better than your classic, but like again, you're wasting a pretty high spell slot for it. So I feel like it's only going to come in handy at like the most important moments in your like that being invisible and running away
It's a niche
important.
spell, but I think there'll be moments where you're like, oh, I'm
Greater
so glad I have
invisibility
this.
is not a niche spell.
Well, for an armor type character, I think it would be.
I mean, everybody and their mom, especially a rogue, wants greater invisibility, right?
Who's
sure.
mom?
Everybody's mom. It's one of the best spells in D&D. Like, be able to stay invisible after you attack. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it's only a minute, but what combat is going more than 10 rounds,
No, yeah, absolutely.
right? So it's,
True enough.
I mean, yes, some, especially if you have a roleplay heavy party, very much like the option of people just going first 2 rounds of combat. I'm a pacifist. I have to be hit before I'll draw my weapon. Okay, fine. Those rounds are going to go quickly. But once you get into it, 10 rounds, like 1 minute is not a lot of time.
Yeah, especially at that level. Like
Yeah.
I feel like battles at that level are meant to last a long period of time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel it's that spell you'll forget you ever have until like it's too late. And you're like, oh, I had that thing that I could have used to escape.
Oh, I totally could have used greater invisibility and walked away and left the rogue alone in the room. Oh.
No. But yeah, and then at level
Nice thing about that though, just one last, you always have these spells prepared, right? These aren't
Yeah.
part of your morning preparation. So it is one of those ones that, oh shit, that'd be really useful right now. Oh, good thing I have it.
Yeah. But again, I would forget that I have it. I forget I have 95% of things that I have as a D&D player. So this is one that I would forget that I have as an artificer. So, but again, I can see Dan's face.
You want to get into more niche? Let's get to 17th level.
Yes, at 17th level, you get pass wall and then wall of force.
So you get a portal gun and you get a
A
force
wall.
field.
Yeah.
To
I'm
use
just
your
trying to
portal
put
gun
some
on.
flavor on it. You
Yeah,
get a portal gun and a force field.
Yeah.
I like that.
So as somebody who grew up resisting technology in his D&D games, I have no issue with guns or anything in my games, but like
Mm.
the armorer feels still a bit, it's pushing that boundary for me. Where I'm just,
These are spells that are all available to your standard wizard.
yeah, I get that, but they're
Right.
spells.
You're
This-
flavoring them.
You
There's still
have to-
spells. You're just now you're putting a new flavor on them.
Yes, but it is highly recommended you are using your artificer's tools, your artisan tools, whatever you are
Oh, of course.
proficient with, as the arcane focus of your spells, which they very much can be. And
Yeah.
being the arcane focus of the spells, you are now describing how, with a set of Smith's tools, you are coming up with a wall of force, right?
Sure. Yep.
Well, okay, if you're going to use a Smith's tools to come up with a wall of force, that is you pulling out a tinkered thing, smoking it a couple times with a hammer, and like tossing it on the ground, it's skittering to a stop and force field.
I think with the armor, I'm again more inclined to put those effects into the armor themselves. So not so much pulling out the tinker tools in this point, but I'm activating something in the armor that I had, prepared.
Can
built
your
into the armor
armor
during downtime.
be a spell focus? I don't think so.
No, but I think you could flavor it well enough, right? You're
Yeah.
using some of your tools to activate a piece on the armor or something like that.
I
The flavor
agree
for the
with
armor, you should be using your armor flavor wise as the
100%. Like the pass wall, like your armor gives you the ability to suddenly it's like, oh, we invisible, let's go. And then like wall of force would be like all of a sudden like you are just creating a physical barrier or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you can flavor it to be just a part of the armor. But
Cool.
all right. So after the spells, obviously at 3rd level, you do get your arcane armor. So basically it's a magical armor that gives you the ability to ignore strength as a requirement, which is pretty dope.
Which is massive.
Yeah,
huge.
literally massive. And then you can actually use your armor as its spellcasting focus. So back to that conversation we had before, you can actually use it.
Yeah, that answers that question.
Absolutely
Yeah.
it does. The other joy is that the armor that is attached to you cannot be removed without your consent, which also great teaching lesson for everybody.
Yeah, well, and that you have to know that's conscious or not, right? It doesn't differentiate here. So if you're knocked out, you can't have your armor stripped off you.
Which I think is a really
cool.
cool flavor piece. If like someone's trying to rip your armor off after you're like dead, it's like, no.
I'm just imagining an oil can moment, like a Wizard of Oz Tin Man.
Well, then you
moment.
can give consent for it to be removed.
Not if you're paralyzed underneath.
Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. And then as a bonus flavor, you can retract or deploy like your helmet as a bonus action.
You're Iron Man. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Every single
mean,
piece of this is how do we make you Iron Man?
How do we make this as cool as possible? To answer that question, it can replace any limbs that you have lost.
Which is really cool.
Which is really cool. So like
Which would have been really useful for your paladin, right?
Yeah. So if I lose a leg, my armor will just become my leg, which is really cool.
Awesome.
And then less fun, but it's very helpful with people that keep track of this stuff, is that you can don or doff your armor as an action.
normally to don a set of full plate mail armor, or plate mail as it is called in 5e, I got to stop doing that, is I think 10 minutes.
It's not a small amount of time.
Yeah,
it's
it's really not a small amount of time.
And
Also,
it is now 6 seconds.
About the missing limbs thing, you're still missing a limb. This just functions as a limb.
Sorry,
Right.
it doesn't
Your
grow
prosthetic
flesh.
is now built in and can be donned and doffed in an action.
I can guarantee you that losing your arm within the armor will still hurt like a bitch.
Oh, absolutely.
But you still get a functional hand.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is where I think rules as intended versus rules as written, something's missing here. The way that it says it, as an action, you can turn a suit of armor you are wearing into arcane armor, providing you have the tools.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it says the armor continues to be arcane armor until you don another suit of armor or you die. So technically, could you take this armor off and give it to someone else as long as you don't don another suit of armor?
I feel like that'd be a really fun flavor piece. And if I was a DM, I'd allow it. I would be like, absolutely. You can don the armor, hand it off to somebody else. However, when you die, the person wearing the armor will know because the armor will turn off.
But it is also don another set of armor. So if you are walking around as a barbarian with your chest hairs,
you retire. But like if you retired and you're handing it off to your child.
Okay, that is such an interesting character build.
Yeah.
Now.
Like I'm about it. Brad.
I'm picturing a Tony Stark Pepper Potts thing, right? Where he puts the armor on her to save her.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of thing that I'm picturing. Like you could possibly get this armor onto someone else because it still dons or doffs as an action.
Yeah.
So here's my other question, and I don't know how politically correct this is going to be, which is always a dangerous way to start a thought.
Throw down.
How does it fit?
Love it when you start a
sizes,
sentence
genders,
like that.
and races.
No, not between sizes, genders, and races. It's magical armor. It says it's magical armor. It'll shift to fit. That's not a problem.
Okay.
But so avid listener of the podcast, Doulos12 on Reddit, has put together his Limitless Heroics book, which is on Kickstarter. You guys can find a link to that Kickstarter on our Reddit.
This is not a paid ad. We just genuinely
not a paid ad. I genuinely love the guy. But the whole thesis behind the book is, which both Adam and I are sponsors on the Kickstarter. The big thing about the book is that it is a way to enable otherly abled people into playing D&D. So it's got wheelchairs, prosthetics. The one that really spoke to me is there's hearing devices for like deaf characters and stuff like that. So
very cool stuff.
This is a great project. He's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, but I gotta ask, this is the part that I'm not so sure is politically correct. So Doulos, reach out to us, buddy, to let us know. Could you put somebody who is wheelchair bound into an arcane armor, and then it's working with their limbs, and then they can walk.
Yes,
I
would
feel like
say
that's been
yes,
done
100%.
before. Absolutely.
As a DM, I would allow it, and as a player, I would actually lean into it.
As a DM, I would allow it. As a player, I would allow it as well. But I would be okay with it if it was at the table. However, I would encourage you guys to look at this Limitless Heroics book as an opportunity to maybe make your arcane, like being upwardly bipedal is not necessarily the only way your character moves around. And I could see an armorer in a wheelchair, and the wheelchair, you're now, a floating Professor X kind of thing.
Absolutely.
From X-Men, right?
Mhm.
So be open to varieties of look for your arcane armor.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Love it. Very cool. I encourage it. All right. Well, after that, at level 3, you get your armor model.
A lot of stuff at 3rd level.
Yeah. It basically says here, you're an armorer. Here's all of these things right away.
Yeah.
Great. But that's also the thing, is like, it would suck if you start at level 1 and then everyone's like, yay, you're level 3. Just add your
Except
spell
it would
slot
feel so good when you hit level 3 as the
Oh.
artificer.
But you die at level 2. Anyways.
Johnny.
He died at level 3.
That's
You get your armor, Dan. Anyways, you get your armor model. So you get to choose between either Guardian or Infiltrator. So basically this is you kind of customizing your armor to your play style is kind of how I feel like this represents. So each model does give you the ability to choose a special weapon. And then you can actually choose to use your intelligence mod instead of your strength or dex for attack and damage rolls. And then you can basically change between Guardian or Infiltrator between a short and long rest, which I think is an interesting note to take. Like, it's almost like you're not stuck in one direction or the other.
I really enjoy that little fact. I would have preferred to see it as a long rest thing, just for balance reasons.
Yeah. It seems weird that, like, I can understand for like wording and for like clarification that to put short or long rest, but I'm like, okay, but if I can do it at a short rest, I'm gonna fucking do it at a short rest. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, as a DM, you have to account for this as you're prepping encounters, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So we're storming the castle, and then we're going to take an hour break, and then we're going into the castle and going to fight our way through catacombs. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Guardian up until that short rest, and then I'm Infiltrator for the rest of it.
Yeah.
As a player, this is fantastic. As a DM, you either need to not give that rest or be prepared for the fact that this is going to happen.
The hard part is, like, the players will always push for at least a short rest, and the fact that this happens at a short rest, it's just inevitably going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we'll go through them. So for Guardian, obviously it's kind of as it sounds, but you get some couple of cool abilities. You get your Thunder Gauntlets or your Defensive Field. So for Thunder Gauntlets, each gauntlet counts as a melee weapon of 1d8 thunder damage. If this creature that you hit then goes to hit another creature, they have disadvantage because it's not you. So it's kind of like your command.
It's like hit them to fight you.
It's Sentinel. It's kind of built-in Sentinel, right?
Very much so.
It sucks because you're still a DA hit points. That never changed.
Yeah, that doesn't change.
So yeah, and I think that's the part that you have to remember, that, like, yes, you get a lot at 3rd level, but like it's stuff that doesn't scale. So
yeah, but you're still getting full plate, you're getting armor, and you're getting proficiencies, which we'll get into with infusions. There's lots of ways that this is gonna boost.
Yeah, true.
You might not have a lot of hit points, but you're gonna be hard to hit.
Yeah, 100%. Hence the Guardian, shall we say.
Hey.
And then for your Defensive Field, as a bonus action, you can gain temp hit points equal to your level, but it does replace any temp points that you already have.
Yeah, temp hit points never
they don't
right?
stack.
Yeah. So and then obviously if you lose your armor, it goes away, or take your armor off, it disappears. So simple as that. And then for Infiltrator, it's a little bit more subtle. So you get the lightning launcher, which doesn't sound subtle to me, but that's
it's a little bit more subtle. You throw lightning across the battlefield,
but it's a ranged weapon. So this is more like your distancy kind of character versus being right up front in the battle, is how I read it. So it acts as a ranged weapon, shooting a lightning, like basically a lightning bolt of 90 feet to 300 feet with 1d6 lightning damage. So it's a ranged attack with slightly a lower dice of damage versus your Guardian.
And similar to Witch Bolt, right? It continues in the next round. You can choose to either keep going or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing that stood out to me is in the flavor of it. We talked earlier about being Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
You literally get a gem-like node in your chest or fists.
Or fist. It literally. Yeah, it says that in the book. Yeah.
Womp womp.
Yeah. You're Iron Man if you are the infiltrator. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You also get powered steps, which increases your walking speed by 5. So
Sure.
let's walk a little bit faster. Why not? And then you get dampening field, which is advantage on dex / like stealth checks. So hiding yourself.
So that's we're now done 3rd level. And I gotta say, remember, you're still casting spells, y'all.
Yeah.
Like you still have spells, you still have infusions on top of everything this gives. 3rd level armorer.
Yeah.
Speaks to me as a min-maxer, as a potential multi-class option.
Yeah.
Like I could just do a nice little 3-level dip in my warlock, and my hexblade warlock into this, and now I'm undefeatable.
Get out with your multi-classing.
I'm really trying hard to stick through Bard, man. I'm really trying.
I
hard
believe
to
in
stick through
you.
Bard.
I think that you're gonna do okay.
Rolling Valor just so I could be Gishy is the way I'm doing it.
Oh, how very dare.
Yeah.
All right, well, back to it. Level 5, you get extra attack because why not?
Yeah.
Because you needed it. I mean, you're a melee guy. They're giving you armor. You're gonna be up front. Might as well get extra attack.
Yeah, you're gonna want this.
All right. And then at 9th level, you do get your armor mod. So basically the way this kind of breaks down is that the pieces of your armor now become their own like sentient pieces of armor. So each piece of armor you have can now be infused by the infusions of your magic. So, and then on top of that, like for the actual mechanic, it increases your infusions by 2.
Which is huge. That means if you go max level with this, or even by 9th level, I think you can have up to 4 active infusions at 9th level. Let me check here. You could have 3 active infusions. This nearly like doubles.
Almost doubles.
Right?
Yeah,
You go from 3 to 5 active infusions you're allowed.
At level 9. Yeah.
At level 9. It doesn't change how many you know. It only changes how many
are active. But that's a big deal because the number active versus how many you know there's a big of a gap. Now you're basically utilizing every single one that you have.
Until it grows by 2 and 1, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
Like at 20th level, you're going to have 12 infusions known and 8 of them are active.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the gap does grow, but at this level, I mean, you're getting to use most of what you've got, which always feels good to use everything at your disposal.
Delightful. All right. And then at level 15, just to cap that off, so you get perfected armor, which gives you a different benefit whether you're a guardian or infiltrator. So if you're a guardian, you get the ability to basically pull a creature into you. So any large creature or same size as you within 30 feet, you can use an action to pull them into you. So, which is pretty cool.
So now I'm going to theme it like a yellow ninja. And when I have to do burning hands, I'm just going to lift up the mask and it be a skull face and then...
Of course. Absolutely.
That's a Scorpion Mortal Kombat
Get over
reference.
here, Dan. Get over here.
Oh my God. All right. But then if you're an infiltrator, basically any creature that takes lightning damage from your glimmers of light and your lightning damages, it'll end up making that creature glow with a dim light up to 5 feet. And then now attacks with anyone that attacks them has advantage, and anything that it attacks, it has disadvantage. And it also gives an extra 1d6 of lightning damage when attacked.
Not quite. It has
No?
disadvantage if it attacks specifically you.
Got you. Yeah.
And the next attack has advantage against it, which makes this kind of like guiding bolts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
guiding
similar.
bolts.
Right?
Fairy fire.
The glow.
Like
Yeah.
a fairy fire light in a way.
Especially since your bolt has a 90-foot range. You could just
300-foot range.
Well, it's got a 300-foot max range, but I mean, after 90 feet, you're rolling with disadvantage.
You're rolling with disadvantage, sure.
Right? So, but like you hit at 90 feet away, that is at least a move or 2 or even 3 away. You've got some time to build up this. So like you hit them with the lightning and then you ding them a couple more times with the lightning as they're getting close. Mm-hmm. And then whoever gets up there, it's probably the barbarian. Let's admit it's the barbarian gets up there and just ruins this guy's day. Mm. Like I love how they've really featured the guardian and the infiltrator. Infiltrator is kind of a misnomer. It's more like melee and ranged.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, guys. So let's grab our dice for the first time this episode and roll. And I want to ask, what stats, race, and background clearly synergize with an artificer armorer? Let's roll. I got an 18.
12.
I got an 8.
I'm sorry, guys. It's an artificer. I gotta go with it. Gnome.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
Rock gnome. Like, if you really want to go with it, dwarf. But any high int class will work, but armorer doesn't really matter for
No.
that,
Yeah.
right? Like if you've got a strength bonus with armorer, you're doing fine, right? So
You don't really need strength though. Like that's even a misnomer as well. If you're the
Well, I
guardian,
mean-
maybe with your weapon, but
the
If
other
you're
thing, the
playing-
thing we should mention is you don't get martial weapon proficiency at all with anything. So within this, martial weapons do not exist for an armorer.
play a
Mm.
hobgoblin.
So play a hobgoblin. Like play
Kobold.
something that gives you some sort of martial weapon proficiency.
True.
Would be the best thing to go for this. As for background, Guild Artisan, I always recommend it. It's one of my favorites, but Guild Artisan fits, Outlander fits, Folk Hero. I mean, we keep on saying this is like this hero that we've heard of.
Uh-huh.
Folk Hero works.
Yeah, absolutely does.
Absolutely. I was thinking, as much as like the gnome is the obvious one, absolutely. But I was thinking if you want to lean into the Iron Man theme, I would build an ASMR with a folk hero background with one of these. So then you are an actual flying speeded, like lightning bolting, like it just in my mind thematically fits quite nicely.
You look at Tony Stark and you go ASMR?
Sure. Angel of Death.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you sold me
Fall
with
in
that last
ASMR.
one.
There you
Sure,
go.
All in ASMR.
Sure.
Excellent. Well, we've already touched on gnome. I just want to add the one thing I love about gnome is I would have your armorer basically be a gnome inside his armor who never takes it off, and everybody thinks he's a warforged.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not a
you're Men in
warforged.
Blacking
And you can do this
like,
with anybody, but it does feel good with an. You know what? No, sorry, I'm gonna go kobold. I want to have a kobold that's living inside this armor. It never takes it off, and everyone thinks it's a warforged.
That's amazing. I want to point out, yes, you get heavy armor proficiency, and yes, this thing is leaning really heavily towards the heavy armor proficiency side of things. It doesn't have to be heavy armor,
Doesn't have to be, no.
right?
Yeah.
So you could be wearing a chain shirt that is just magically enchanted with all this stuff,
Sure.
right? Because remember, you're still a spellcaster. You still have all these other things going for you from the main class.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I like the idea of kobold. I also like the idea of like you guys sitting down for a drink and the chest plate opening up and your
somebody
character's
walks
just
out.
sitting in there like Voltron.
Yeah,
like
very
the
much so.
puppeteering.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also,
You know,
for
I love my kobolds.
for background, I really love the idea of entertainer.
Yeah.
Like this person that uses their armor as like this showpiece, because this is not going to be common, right? They're going to go from town to town.
I'm
And it starts
loving
off-
every moment of this,
and-
by the way.
You got to remember, like the base class here is still artificer, so this is somebody who's making inventions, entertaining kids, you know, putting on shows, traveling.
Yeah.
Almost. You talked about taking dips, Dan. Take a bard.
Yeah, I have
Right?
a question,
Yeah.
and nowhere in here does it say, but can your armorer take off parts of the armor
I would 100% allow it,
So,
especially
like,
outside of combat.
and then they function as things?
I would say
Where are
no.
you going with this? No. They don't.
Because
I'm
this
just,
does
I'm
say-
just thinking cousin it with a full plate mail armor. Not cousin it, the thing from Adam's
It's the
family.
hand.
Just have
It's
a
true.
empty gauntlet running across the table, grabbing you stuff for your
In-
artificering.
I do hear that, but like
I
in
would
some
just
of
have
the
that as
abilities,
your
it does
mage
say
hand.
no. But like I feel like you're getting too much into the weird details of it because it does say in some of the abilities that once the armor is off, it no longer functions.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess
So-
that's true.
Even if you're wearing part of the armor, I feel like if you were to remove your gauntlet,
You
like,
can't use the gauntlet. It loses its ability.
it loses its ability. It uses its ability, and until it reattaches it to yourself, it doesn't
Yeah.
redo its thing.
Well,
right?
then let's ask this next question. Then, what are the strengths of the class when it comes to role playing? Then
Role playing. We've already talked about so much. Like
we've
there
already
anyway.
talked about so
Yeah.
much, but like the versatility of the artificer, I think, is kind of the unsung hero of the class.
Mhm.
It is a very versatile class, and I really like the path they went, making it basically kind of like Warlock, but with like its own interesting little twist on it.
Yeah.
With the half caster and the fun mechanics that are unique to the class. I really like that. So like the strengths, especially when it comes to role playing, I'm really leaning into the fact that this guy just wants to improve his armor all the time.
Mhm.
Right. Part of me wants to roll dwarf now that I'm thinking about it,
A
because
dwarf is an excellent pick.
and they are so fastidious in their grooming and everything, like just obsessively oiling his armor after every day before bed, right? Like it just, all of that stuff, it breathes so much interesting character into it, because it gives you a focus. And we mentioned real briefly that one character who's got like the heirloom weapon is a trope. It happens.
Oh, absolutely.
Having heirloom armor, that this makes that possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, plays into the obsession piece that I mentioned at the beginning. Like that. Have you seen my armor? Have you seen it? See how pretty it is?
Yeah, no, there's this subclass, just it's full of flavor and ways to really flesh out a character that has an obsession. We've talked about the obsession, but I think you're going to have somebody who's, I would put a fair bit of charisma into this character. Because to me, it just screams out somebody who really wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Or play the hero paladin without being the religious paladin.
Exactly.
Like I feel like this is what that would be for sure.
I would 100% still, I would multi-class this with paladin in a heartbeat.
Oh, you absolutely could. Yeah, there's no reason not to.
Heartbeat, right? I mean, just there's so many possibilities
Ideas.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hit a commercial.
Hello everyone, it's Megan. I finally get to do a commercial spot all by myself. Just me, just you, hanging out, talking about commercial stuff. Now, Dan and Adam came to me a few days ago and politely asked me if I would record a little blurb about liking and subscribing and leaving reviews on iTunes. And I graciously and humbly agreed because of the kind-hearted and warm person that I am. So here I am asking you to like and subscribe. And let's be real, it took both of them a lot of courage to come and ask me this question because they knew they had to do so with kindness. So please, come along, leave your reviews, comment, tell your friends, buy some merch, however you want to help support the podcast. We love the time we get to spend with you. But don't forget to support some of the others associated with the podcast as well. All their accounts are on Instagram. You can find our logo artist, Katie, at Clementine Art Portraits. The music guy, Tyler, good guy, could use more love at Melodics Music. You can even find Peps at Pepperina_SparkleGem, or even myself on Instagram at Omegart, 0MEGGART. And of course, you can always go onto the It's a Mimic and harass Adam and Dan there. So remember to take a few minutes for every episode you listen to and boost up those metrics with likes, comments, follows, and subscriptions. And if you have a business, online store, or passion project that you'd like us to show the world, reach out to info@itsamimic.com to buy some ad space here on the podcast. Let's work together to build this community up.
So we've talked about how Artificer has so much flavor. We're going to just amp that flavor up to 1,000 right now by talking about infusions. Infusions are basically magical enhancements that any artificer, not just the armor, any artificer can put onto non-magical items. So you take a mundane item, you make it magical by adding an infusion to it. As far as kind of mechanically how it works, at the end of any long rest, you can add a number of attunements based on your level. So Dan kind of talked about this earlier, but you start with 4 attunements that you can know. At 6th level, you go up to 6. 8th level, 10th level, you go up to 8. 14th level, you go up to 10. And 18th level, you go up to 12. Now, the number of infusions that you can apply also adjusts over that time. So it starts at 2. At 6th level, you can add 1 more. At 10th level, you add 1 more. So at the same level intervals, you just add 1 more every time. So even while you're learning, usually about 2 more each time, you're adding 1 more that you can actually apply to items.
Yeah.
Now, we saw with the armorer, they break that rule a little bit, but for general artificers, that rule stays.
Yeah, if infusions interest you, I would almost take armor just because of the boost to infusions.
Yeah.
Why would
absolutely.
you not? Like, I feel like it just seems so perfect.
It's been a long time.
Well, I
since
mean,
we
you
were
have to get to 9th level to benefit
That's
from it. That's why you wouldn't. That's a big dip. That's not a dip. That's a big commitment to the class.
Yeah.
But feckin' worth it, man. Especially with what some of these infusions do.
Yeah, we'll talk. As another thing, so you learn these attunements, but every time you gain a level, you can swap any attunements you like, as many as you'd like. Okay. Attunement. We've talked a little bit about how you attune, right? Magical equipment needs to be attuned to. Some of these infusions also have attunements. However, the moment that you cast or attune an item with one of these infusions, you can attune to it immediately. Should you not attune to it immediately, then you take regular attunement rules, which I believe is usually an hour.
Yeah, it's usually over an hour.
Yeah, it's usually a long time to attune. However, if you put the infusion on the item, you're immediately attuned to it. With those attunements, you can know. So let's say you know 4 different attunements. You can only apply each of those attunements to one piece of equipment, and each piece of equipment can only have 1 attunement to it. So if you can put 2 attunements on, they cannot be of the same attunement, and they can't be on the same piece of equipment. The infusions themselves last indefinitely, and they will be removed from an item under 3 conditions. 1, the artificer dies. Obviously, the attunements also die with them. 2, if the artificer swaps the infusion while leveling up that I talked about earlier, right? If you just forget that infusion, obviously it's going to go off the piece of armor. Or 3, if you cast a new infusion, causing it to exceed the maximum number of infusions you're allowed to have, then the oldest one becomes inactive.
There is a caveat to this where if the artificer dies, that infusion will fade away, but in a number of days equal to that artificer's intelligence modifier.
Intelligence modifier, correct.
Huh.
Yes.
Which
it's not immediate.
Which as a DM, I friggin' love that.
Yeah, we never really got to play with it, unfortunately. When our
He didn't
died.
really deal with very much infusions. He could have.
He had just gotten his infusions.
He got Whole Lever.
Yeah.
He got Whole Lever. And the only reason why I gave you guys in response to Whole Lever, which was his enhanced crossbow. The only reason why I gave you guys weapons after that fact that were so powerful was because you guys immediately went to another artificer and went, harness this power for us. And that artificer went, yes, here's a thing.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah. So as you level up, you're going to get access to more attunements and more varied attunements. So where you start at 3rd level is when you get your first attunements, or 2nd level rather.
Yeah.
You get your first attunements. There are going to be some pretty simple ones. We'll cover them. But as you level up, you're going to get better attunements, more interesting attunements, and obviously more. They're also designated as to what they can be applied to. Some attunements can only be applied to weapons, some a set of armor, or maybe a specific piece of armor, and maybe it's a specific item that it can be applied to. But the attunement itself will tell you what it can be applied to, so you have to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So let's just dive into the 3 basic ones, the easiest ones, and then we'll do more of a deep dive. So the first one we're going to look at is Enhanced Weapon. Enhanced Weapon, again, starting at 2nd level, can be applied to any simple or martial weapon. To me, the biggest bonus you get from this is you're going to make any mundane weapon magical. So
yeah, that's going to help with some
anything that's immune to
reduction.
non-magical damage will now no longer have that immunity. Also, you get +1 to attack and damage with that. At 10th level, this infusion, so when your artificer hits level 10, that attack and damage bonus goes to +2.
Now, D&D 5e is traditionally a low magic item style campaign. They've really balanced this with only being allowed to have 3 attunements at a time.
Mhm.
So in previous editions, everyone always went a +5 Vorpal sword is the thing to get. You could really only get up to a +3 weapon nowadays.
Yeah.
And the fact that you could kind of create your own +2 weapon is bonkers.
Yeah.
Right. There's a term called bounded accuracy that a lot of the mechanics of the game are based off of. Being able to adjust that is very, very powerful in the class. So a +2 weapon or armor, we'll get to the armor in a sec, is equivalent to a rare magic item.
Yeah.
So these things are like once in a generation, one of these things kind of pops up.
Yeah.
Also note that this does not require attunement, which many items will.
Especially magic weapons. Yeah.
So no attunement here. So a couple big things that come with this. Also, you don't have to apply this to your own weapon.
No, you don't.
I mean, you will, but you don't have to.
And if you're an armorer, you're giving it to you and your barbarian buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Second infusion I want to look at is Enhanced Defense. So Enhanced Defense can be applied to any armor or shield. It says specifically set of armor, just to clarify. Now that will change, obviously, if you're the armorer class, right? Where you can then apply it later down the road.
And you would apply that to a chest piece, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
Not your greaves.
Not your pants, no.
I'm gonna protect you with my ankles.
Your sabatons.
Just pauldrons. And you're one of those cool characters that only has the one.
One lapel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your midriff is completely exposed.
Yeah.
They got to the ads.
Oh, 100%.
All right. Enhanced defense gives you +1 to your AC, or at 10th level +2.
Yep.
That's it. But I mean, that's nothing minor. It's a big deal, but that's all it adds.
Yeah.
The third one I want to look at, and last one we're going to look at right now, is Enhanced Arcane Focus. Enhanced Arcane Focus can be placed on a rod, a staff, or a wand. So it's specific. Sorry?
I hate that.
I know you do.
Anything that counts as an arcane focus should be able to get this cast on it.
Yeah.
Which
I
for an
think
armorer means your armor.
Yeah. As a DM, I would probably allow that, but rules is written rod, staff, or wand. This one does require attunement. It's the only 3 of the basic ones that does that we're talking about here. And it gives you +1 to your spell attack bonus, not to the damage notice, just the attack bonus. And again, at 10th level, that goes to +2. But you also get to ignore half cover. There's no bonus for 3/4 cover or total cover, but you get to completely ignore half cover.
Okay. I like that. Not enough tables play with cover.
No, absolutely not.
And it's hard to do. It's hard to think of because it is an echo of previous editions for sure.
And it's just always an argument at the table every time. Like, so I feel like a lot of DMs hand wave it just because they don't want to fight with people.
Yeah. The amount of times I've sat down and had to argue about like, oh, I technically have half cover. And do you have cover when standing behind your ally or behind that monster? I just
attacking through allies has kind of been done away with. Like all that stuff has
you don't need point blank shot anymore.
Yeah. Like why are we bothering to play with these covers?
Well, okay.
You can see them or you can't.
I like them and I feel like more tables need to play with them. They just need to be clearly defined at the tables. But let's talk about this real quick, because considering, like I mentioned earlier, 5th edition was supposedly designed to be played without, in general, magic items. A lot of the classes are balanced without magic items in consideration. These very basic level infusions do you think they're going to imbalance anything with the most D&D tables? Because remember, you're getting a +1 at level 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one because a lot of tables I play at, the DM, Dan, is generally fairly generous with magical items. But then you also balance the encounters with the expectation that these items are going to be used. And when players like me forget that they have these items and don't use them,
100%.
Things go bad. Things go bad. Yeah.
So, yeah, it gets a little tricky. Imbalance, I don't know if it's the right word, but I think you just need to take a little extra care as a DM to at least be aware of what's out there.
Megan, what do you think?
Same thing. I feel like I've played in games where DMs don't even give you magical items ever. And so I've gone up to level 10 of never getting a magical item. So I feel like if you're not getting magic, it's so weird, right? To think about that.
It does not feel good.
It's a feel bad kind of moment. So, but I guess it depends again on your DM. So if you have an artificer in your team who has all these amazing weapons, yes, they're always amazing, but you have to use them. You have to waste things to use them. Same as any other class. It's a balance in my mind where you're wasting it's a balance. You're wasting one thing to get another thing. I don't think you're breaking the game by giving them these special abilities, especially because a lot of these require a certain level, which requires a lot of dedication, which requires a lot of time spent on this character.
Yeah.
So again, like I love Adam's line of I will never punish you for wanting to do what your character should be able to do. So because you built them that way. So I stand by that with this one. Yeah.
Cool. So we've seen some basic infusions. Let's break down some of the other infusions now. And to do this, because there's a lot of them, let's roll initiative.
All right, let's do it.
I got
12 for me.
4.
19.
All right.
All right, Megan, lead the way.
So I get to start with Mind Sharpener.
It's like a pencil sharpener for your mind.
This is in no particular order.
No.
No, we're gonna be all over the place. It's like
we're just throwing down names.
If you've got Tasha's around, I'm sorry.
This is an alphabetical order. It's not order of greatness. We're just randomly tossing shit out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is my favorite way to do things, by the way.
Absolutely.
You never know what you're gonna get.
That's the motto, right? So for Mind Sharpener, the only thing that is unique, the item that you require is a suit of armor or robes. And basically, this provides the wearer with the ability to snap back into reality when concentrating.
Oh, there goes gravity.
Oops, there goes gravity. So basically, if you fail your con saving throw when trying to maintain your concentration, you can actually use one of 4, what I'm going to call zaps, it's basically put yourself back into place, and you can choose to succeed your con save.
So
Super
you're
cool.
sitting there with your armor and robes. Say you're an armorer. You trigger this ability, and out pops the can of Monster that you just quickly chug. And
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
okay.
Into
Back
the
to
veins.
Gotta
Straight
focus.
into the veins.
I was going with Adderall, actually, was my thought.
With Adderall. Good God.
Just some kind of a pill. And then basically at the end, so I think this is going to be the common theme, but you do gain back 1d4 at the dawn of day for how many zaps you get back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rad.
Or if you lose too many, you can just re-infuse the item,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just
So,
forget
I
that.
mean,
The
it has
thing
to
is
be at the long rest at the beginning of the day, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you only gain it at, I guess, yeah, you get it at dawn. So if you're not long resting, then you get it back anyways. But
Yeah.
True.
all right. Yeah, so I'm covering Helm of Awareness. Prerequisite for this is you have to be 10th level as an artificer to cast this one. So this is a little further down the road. And the item it needs to be cast on is a helmet. And when it done so, it does require attunement. While wearing this helmet, you get advantage with any initiative roll. And you also can't be surprised as long as you're conscious and aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal. You can give this to your rogue if you want. Give it to yourself. Give it to that paladin who keeps rolling 2s on his initiative. Just
Or
so
the
he can
cleric.
finally have a turn to do
Always
something.
the cleric.
100%.
Or the dragonborn paladin in our case.
So if you're sitting there thinking that, hey, these are 2 mind abilities, so we're talking about mind infusions. No, I've got the armor of magical strength.
Nice.
Because of reasons. This is a any level artificer can do this. You can do this at level 3. So if you're an armorer,
Mm-hmm.
duh. This gives your suit of armor that you then attune to 6 charges, much like the mind sharpener gave you. Now, each of those charges lets you add a bonus to a strength roll or saving throw equal to your intelligence modifier per charge. It could also let you, as a reaction, avoid being knocked prone. So you could spend one of these charges to just pop back up to a standing position. And I choose to believe that this is little magical pistons on your shoulders that when you fall, they just go and you're back.
Can't
on
fire
your
you
feet.
back up.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Excellent.
I like that a lot. Honestly, that would come in so much handy because, like, don't get me wrong. I understand that with mind sharpener, concentration is important for people, but like, there are many times where the DM and the player sometimes forget concentration is a thing. So
Yes.
it's one of those things where unless you're playing at a table where it is adamantly used, it would be useful. But I feel like yours being knocked prone happens
all the time.
all the fucking time.
All the time.
All the fucking time.
I love knocking my players prone.
Son of a bitch.
Wait. I also love grapple, Megan.
No,
Yeah.
grapple's dumb.
Delightful.
You should just get rid of grapple.
All right,
my
let's
vote.
move on to the next 3. What do we got, Megan?
I get sorry. I have arcane propulsion armor.
I just peek behind the curtain. I didn't actually really look into what everybody else had here.
Yeah.
And I looked at this going, arcane propulsion arm is what the
Arm.
note is in
Arm.
our breakdown.
That would be much cooler.
But arcane propulsion armor, I'm now slightly less.
Armor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool.
I just
I
want to
guess.
see a metal gauntlet flying across the field to like challenge someone.
Yeah. So the important thing to note with this one is that the prerequisite is that you are a 14th level artificer. So 14th level.
Oh,
The item that is required is a suit of armor that is attuned. So not just a suit of armor. So when you are wearing this armor, this is one that I was talking about like kind of a little bit earlier with you guys, is that it feels a lot like armorer. So basically it increases your walking speed by 5. You have gauntlets that can be used as magical weapons, but only when you aren't holding anything. So basically you can each will deal 1d8 force damage and also has the thrown capability where you can throw your gauntlet up to 20 to 60 feet, basically, and then they will return. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the armor cannot be removed without your consent. And then also the fun part, if you are missing a limb, it will replace the limb. So again, if you are not an armorer,
Take this.
just take this.
no. If you are an armorer, take this. And here's the reason why. Nothing says this can't be cast on something else.
Yeah,
True.
it's true.
Like
You can
someone
give it to
else's
somebody
armor.
else.
Let's have the armorer pull 4 suits of plate mail out of his bag of holding and go, okay, guys, we're storming the castle today. Everybody get in. 1,
This
2,
can only
3,
be
4.
cast on. You can only cast this once, right? Each infusion can only be used once.
once.
You can't put it on 4 different. You can't put
Well,
the same.
fine.
You can't use the
Ruin
same
my
infusion more than once.
me and my barbarian twinsy are.
But now they'll be wearing armor.
We're
Yeah.
storming a castle. He doesn't need to move fast. He's fine.
But are you always storming a castle like every time?
Every single session of that's all I do in D&D is I storm castles
Yeah.
or blow my players up with fireballs.
Fireballs.
Not their
Oh, very rare.
characters, specifically the players.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically our
If you're not an armor, but
Armor.
again,
yeah.
this is way down the road, right?
14.
Your armor
It's an
gets this
investment.
at level. Your armor gets this at level 3.
Yeah. So if you're not an armor, this is like an investment. You are at 14th level for this guy. Yeah.
This, however, does have rocket gauntlets.
It does have rocket gun.
It does have rocket gauntlets.
It does have rocket gauntlets. So
Which
I'm
also, by the way, do force damage.
yeah. So I am more keen on like I'm gonna make my arcane armor as an artificer, as an armorer, and I'm gonna give that to the fighter. You get my base class feature item, and it's yours. You can have it. I'm gonna wear this one. Punch, 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 punch.
Mhm.
All right, Brad, what you got?
So I have returning weapon. So you talked about your fist coming back. You can now put this on any weapon with the thrown property. There's
Any
no
weapon
levels-
has the throne property if you think hard enough.
if you truly believe.
If you truly believe.
No level restriction on this one. So basically from the start, you can, as soon as you get your infusions, you can put this on something. Any simple or martial weapon, as long as I said it has the thrown characteristic on it. And it gives you, again, +1 attack and damage and returns to your hand after being thrown. It will also make this item magical. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Megan's monk needs this.
I was gonna say.
Obviously, the thing that comes to mind with this for me is Thor's hammer, right? This is Mjolnir. But really, it for any martial character, this gives you a new play style, right? Thrown
Yeah.
weapons are usually you throw them, too bad it's gone. Well, now your javelin is all of a sudden returning your hand. Your trident, your pike is returning your hand. Your dagger, whatever you want it to be.
Sorry, was there a level requirement for this one?
No
No.
level requirement. As soon as you get infusion, so at 2nd level, you can be throwing weapons. My only complaint is it specifically says simple or martial weapons, so you can't do Captain America style with a shield on this.
Okay, but that's fair. But like,
Oh, actually, wait, no. There might be a way. I'm not going to speak up my ass, but there might be a way. Because if you have a spike on the shield, it counts as a martial weapon.
Oh,
mm,
I think.
pause. Let's look at the rules real quick.
No, we're not
No.
going to. Go
Okay.
to the Reddit if I'm wrong.
Sounds good.
correct Dan and Reddit. Thank you.
We paused enough in this episode. We're soldiering on.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But yeah, so that was the one thing that stood out to me is it can't do that. But as long as you
Just put a spike on it.
so basically there's no reason to use, we talked earlier about the basic infusion for enhanced weapon. Don't use enhanced weapon. Use this as long as the weapon has the thrown property.
This doesn't grow.
Sorry?
This doesn't grow. This stays
That's
at level.
true.
This
That's
stays
true.
at +1.
It's a flat level 1.
Yeah, the
But
other
up
one hits
until level
+2.
Up until level 10, use this. Don't use enhanced weapon because let's be real.
Yeah, you're not
This
wrong.
is way
Well, let's go with another ranged weapon-esque thing. We had flying fists. Now we had flying everything else. Well, let's figure out how to make a weapon better. And this is a repeating shot infusion. This can be put onto any simple or martial weapon that requires ammo. That does require attunement, but there is no level requirement here. This grants the item a +1 to attack and damage, but also makes the item ignore the loading property, which
Huge.
makes it so you could only shoot 1 piece of ammo per action.
Mhm.
So if you use a crossbow, even if you get 2 attacks around, you're still only allowed to shoot once with that crossbow if you are not a crossbow master or have this.
Touche.
Okay. Now, should you be playing a game that tracks ammo? Well, you're not anymore because this weapon creates its own ammo if you don't have ammo for it, and that ammo disappears on a hit or miss. Friends, this is beautiful for an assassin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to make an assassin with this right now.
Right?
Just give your assassin rogue this and they will love you forever and they
Yeah.
will cover your back no
You
matter
are
what.
you are untrackable. This guy died from repeated holes in the chest. We don't know if he was stabbed or shot.
So sorry, can you infuse someone else's weapons?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
you just
infuse
make
anything.
best friends with an assassin.
Which is why
Absolutely.
the armorer's ability to have 8 total infusions is
Is a big deal.
nuts.
It's just basically like party favors.
Yeah.
Rogue, here you go. Like, enjoy.
Add on top of it the fact that with the base level Artificer, with your magic item, I believe it's Savant, might be Adept, you get the magic item crafting thing as well.
Yep.
So your character can just craft magic items and then put infusions on top of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You want the ultimate party character. It's not clerics, it's not druids anymore. It's this guy.
It's not bards. It's
not bards.
Artificer.
It's this guy. Yeah.
I'm slowly becoming convinced.
Yeah.
They're a big deal. Well, if you want to talk to us more about whether or not Artificer is the best class, which it obviously is, you can reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, and at r/itsamimic on Reddit. If you have any other info you want to get to us, you can always email us at info@itsamimic.com. And please, please, please send us your mailbag questions. We're always taking them, and we're always happy to hear from you guys and look forward to answering those questions.
Okay, guys, let's grab our dice once more. We got some more infusions to go through here. Just a handful more before we wrap up. So let's roll dice.
Let's do it.
I got 4 again.
5.
19.
Oh.
All right. So Bradley, you first this time.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
this is the same order.
No, Megan went first on the last one.
Brad's first this time.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So Brad.
Yeah. All right. So I'm looking at the Repulsion Shield. This is an infusion that you can learn at 6th level. It can be applied to a shield, and it gives you +1 AC. It also comes with 4 charges, like Megan mentioned with one of hers earlier. And you can use your reaction after being hit, not targeted by an attack, but actually hit by a melee attack. At that point, you push your attacker back 15 feet, not causing an attack of opportunity for you because you used your reaction, and not an attack of opportunity for your allies because guess what? Attack of opportunities, Dan, as we've discussed, we've often gone back and forth on it. It only applies if you use your own movement.
If
you are moved unwillingly, there are no attacks of opportunity drawn. I've gotten this wrong at a couple tables, so I'm mentioning that because I know it happens. And then again, at dawn, you regain 1 d4 charges.
Yeah.
This would be great for maybe your casting cleric or your frontline defender.
Yeah.
Right? Those are kind of the people that I see really using this. Again, if you're an armor or artificer, this is great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Megan, what you got?
I've got a radiant weapon.
You don't say.
I do say. Prerequisite is a 6th level artificer. So again, another one of those like investment ones. The item is required is a simple or martial weapon that is attuned, and it does 3 things. It grants +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls when that's made with it, as well as a bonus action. It also sheds light up to a 30-foot radius that can be extinguished with a bonus action. So just think Radiant Paladin, for fuck's sakes.
It's not lost on me the fact that you got the Radiant Paladin sword.
It's not lost on me either.
Like, thanks, Adam, who put together this breakdown. Thank you.
But it also allows a reaction to that when being hit, to inflict blindness until the end of the attacker's next turn, unless the attacker succeeds on a Constitution saving throw. So basically, if they hit you and don't save, they're blinded for a turn, which is, I think, a pretty cool flavor that hasn't really been added to a paladin that is radiant.
My question to you is, does the infusion go away when your dad's soul leaves the sword?
How very fucking dare. We're not talking for 24 hours.
Inside jokes about our campaign that ended a year ago.
How dare you? Hashtag daddy issues.
Anyway,
go on. What do you have?
I have the Boots of the Winding Path, which are a 6th level infusion. It requires you being 6th level. And go on, you guessed it, a pair of boots that you do need to attune to. They're very simple. What they let you do is teleport 15 feet away as a bonus action to an unoccupied space that you could see that you have also occupied at some point during this turn.
So you go forward and you zip back, right?
So you go forward and then teleport back. And because it's a teleport, no attack of opportunity.
No attack of opportunity.
So it's just like you're running forward, you run your little path, stab a guy a bunch, and then you pop back 15 feet.
Yeah, very cool.
That's really cool to like pair that with the Guardian thing, because you can utilize your close combat Guardian capabilities and then pop back.
Yeah. Yeah. This is your guerrilla warfare hit and run artist right here, right? Mix this with a little bit of rogue and you're laughing.
And you can do this every turn. Like there's no charges on this. You can just every round you get a bonus action 15 foot. Yeah.
Bam.
You get a little Misty Step, not quite Misty Step, but
okay, that's disgusting. The fact that it doesn't have a charge.
It
No
doesn't
charge.
the requirement is you have to have occupied that square at
space.
some point
Yeah.
during this turn.
Okay, so like you would have to start the turn far away to take full advantage, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
All right.
I mean, you can always just
You could step
run
back.
around a dude and then bamf and then run around, right? Like, but why
Yeah.
would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much
there's-
running.
Yeah, it brings in a level of tactics that I don't really want to see at my
Mhm.
tables anymore.
Yeah, it's cool, but yeah, you do have to plan with it a little bit.
Oh, okay, let's go with the next one. Brad,
Next
what
one,
do you got?
I've got resistant armor next. So resistant armor is another 6th level infusion. You get quite a few at 6th level. It needs to be cast obviously on a set of armor, and it does require attunement. What resistant armor does is it provides resistance to one type of damage chosen when the infusion is created. So it doesn't get to change, you just set it up once. So you can choose from acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder.
None of the
Hey, you want to
physicals.
be resistant to psychic damage or force damage? Here it is.
Yeah.
Now this one's really interesting. It's good if you're going against a red dragon and you know, hey, I might want some fire resistance, or you're going into a mind flayer colony, I might want some psychic resistance, right? If you know what you're going to be facing, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And again, it can be swapped out at the start of every day, right? You can just reapply the infusion.
Yeah. So if you're dungeon crawling after the
yeah.
first day, you kind of know what you're facing, and then you kind of
Exactly.
adjust from there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Megan,
But yeah, it's gonna be best. Sorry, I just want to add, it's gonna be best applied to the person who you know is gonna be taking the most damage to get the most effective.
yes,
True.
yeah.
Right. So you may not want to be putting this one on yourself, especially
Or
if you're
even your
playing-
barbarian, because they're probably already resistant.
They're
to
already
it.
taking half damage. Yeah, exactly. Well,
This
it
will
also
be for
goes
your
on armor,
squishies.
which your barbarian's not always wearing.
Yeah, I guess
Mhm.
that's true.
Interesting.
Megan,
I have the homunculus servant.
I don't think that's how that's pronounced.
I believe it's savant.
That's how I'm.
No,
pronouncing
it's
it.
servant, guys.
It is servant. It's 100% servant.
Yeah, there's an R.
But I'm saying servant. The required item is a gem or a crystal that's worth at least 100 gold pieces. And basically you are using magic and you create the heart. You basically imbue an item with magic that creates the heart of a creature. So a homunculus, shall we say, that only serves you. So, and you can choose the shape, you can choose the animal. Traditionally, it does say that birds and magical looking birds are used, but you can choose whatever creature you decide you want to use, which is very cute.
Yeah,
And-
this is like the mechanical clockwork owl from Jason and the Argonauts, and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I feel like you could choose anything you want other than just birds.
It's an artificer flavored
Familiar.
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My favorite, by the way, because there are 4 options in the art and in Tasha's, is the happy little floating pot. That is
Yeah.
my favorite one.
That's your favorite one? I really like the one that looks like it's a coffee machine.
I guess that's true too. Yeah.
Very useful item. But there is a stat block in Tasha's if you want to actually look and see what the stat block looks like. It's pretty basic. It's kind of like a very mundane item, like with an armor class of 13. Hit points are based on your own intelligence and your artificial levels, which is what goes to it. It is a 20-foot like walking speed. If you do end up picking a flying character, it is a 30-foot flight speed. But I feel like in my mind, you can choose any item and it can fly. So if you choose a small pot to imbue and become alive, it can fly. That's just how I feel in my brain. So it's in the book as written. It can fly.
We will actually be covering the servant at length at the end of this episode for like its actual like full mechanical build.
Perfect. Excellent.
So all of our little notes will go there at the end of the episode. But these things are amazing.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, I have the spell refueling ring.
Cooler than
And-
it sounds.
It is cooler than it sounds, and it sounds pretty cool. This is a 6th level ring and needs to go on a ring, of course, and it does require attunement. And what this ring does is it lets you regen a level 3 or lower spell slot once per day.
That's pretty cool.
An extra 3rd level spell every day.
I'm becoming my warlock's best friend.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm just like, here, have 50% more spells.
Seriously.
Right. Like it's amazing.
Just
Love it.
amazing.
Right. And it's simple. Just 1 3rd level spell per day or
Yep.
lower. Right. So dunzo. Let's
Simple.
let's move on. And The next one is, there's not three of us doing an item here. It's just me. I'm doing the last one because this is quite involved with it. And this is replicate magic item. Okay. So replicate magic item lets you, shocker, replicate a currently existing magic item. Now you can select this infusion multiple times, which I think is one of the coolest part of this, each time following the requirements of the specific item you are duplicating. Okay. Now these are limited by level, which I'm thankful for. And they give you access to 8 items at level 2, another separate 8 at level 6, 21 additional items at level 10, and 12 additional items at level 14. Okay. There's a lot of items here. Now, I do want to say, you could take this multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Each time getting more items. There's nothing saying at level 6, you are bound to the level 6 chart, right? You can, if you want to pick up 2 items from the level 4 chart, you can. It just unlocks those items as potential items you're duplicating. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is right. This is the exception to the rule, right? Every other enhancement can only be used once. This
Yes,
one, obviously,
this is the exception to the rule.
This is the exception.
Okay, so let's go through the list. At second level, you get the ability to make a alchemy jug, a bag of holding. So immediately you're level 2 with a bag of holding.
If you have one, if you have one
Amazing.
already, right? It's duplicate, right? So you
No,
don't
it's
just treat it.
it's replicate. So
yeah,
so you don't actually need to have had the item next to you. You just get to create this magic item with the infusion.
oh, interesting. I misunderstood that when I read it. There you go. That's good to know.
Yeah, you just get to make the item.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, cool. So you also could make a cap of water breathing, goggles of night, rope of climbing, sending stones, a wand of magic detection, or a wand of secrets. Now, personally, my highlight here is the sending stones. They are never not useful for inter-party communication, and I recommend them every single time. However, every single table I've ever played with has played with them wrong, because they allow you to cast sending once a day between one other stone. They're not a constant walkie-talkie communication device.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
They're still good though. They're still good because you get these at second level, right? Alternatively, if you don't want those, I would check out the Wand of Secrets. It is a wand, so you get 3 charges a day that you get to use as kind of a dowsing rod for any secret doors or traps that are within 30 feet of the wielder, and no items in the second level spells list require attunement. So you can make this item and hand it over to the rogue who's looking for magic for secret doors and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now those charges recharge fully at every dawn. So
1d3.
It's not 1d3. They recharge all 3 at, because
The wand regains 1d3 expended charges daily at dawn is what I'm reading.
oh fucking whatever.
Well, fine, says Dan.
At 6th level, you get Boots of Elvenkind, Cloak of Elvenkind, yikes, Cloak of the Manta Ray, Eyes of Charming, ladies, Gloves of Thievery.
Shut up.
Gross.
I can say for ladies everywhere, and I speak for us all.
Gross.
I deserve that. Gloves of Thievery, Lantern of Revealing.
Gentlemen.
Terry.
Terry. Pipes of Haunting. It's a different kind of haunting pipe there, Brad.
Oh,
And
baby.
Ring of Water Walking. So obviously the highlight here for me is the Lantern of Revealing, and it's legit what I wrote down. But this is because it A, doesn't require attunement, and B, functions as a lantern that also reveals any invisible objects or creatures within 30 feet of it.
Yep.
Okay. This solves invisibility.
Yep. 100%.
Right. Also, I'd like to point out that any creature who could see invisibility will see the orb of scrying when you're being scryed upon. So you have this lantern, you can now see that big farkin orb that someone is actively scrying on your party.
Interesting.
Okay. And because it's an infusion, it exists forever. So your character's just carrying a lit lantern on him at all times.
Put it on your backpack.
Intensely useful. Useful. However, if you happen to have many charges of fairy fire handy and you want another option, I would recommend a set of Eyes of Charming, which let you cast a DC 13 charm person as an action up to 3 charges a day. Now, this will really help, especially with those artificers who have used charisma as a dump stat.
Sure.
Okay? At 10th level, take a deep breath and go down. Wow. Sorry.
Wow.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
Crazy.
Take a deep breath to go down this list.
Uh-huh.
Very important
That's
two
going in the
words.
cut.
Very, very important.
I've never been so moved in a podcast.
Stick around for the post credits because you'll definitely hear this one.
Oh, yikes.
I'm gonna
Anyways,
bank that one for a later day. Anyways, go on.
I'm never gonna. I'm embarrassed red right now.
I am embarrassed for you.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm delighted.
Anyways, you would be. Anyways, you get boots of striding and springing, boots of the winterlands, bracers of archery, brooch of shielding. You just did a cut to add that to the end. No one knows what we're talking about now.
Correct.
Can we just make that the title of the episode?
Take a deep breath and get
Go
down.
down.
Oh my god.
Go down.
Oh, okay, go on. Get
So you
it together.
Get it together. You get a brooch of shielding, a cloak of protection, eyes of the eagle, gauntlets of ogre power, gloves of missile snaring, gloves of swimming and climbing, a hat of disguise. Weird that you get that late. Headband of intellect, helm of telepathy, medallion of thoughts, necklace of adaptation, periapt of wound closure, pipes of the sewers, quiver of Elhana, Elana, ring of jumping, ring of mind shielding, slippers of spider climbing, and winged boots. There's a bunch here, 21 magic items that you could duplicate here, guys.
Yeah.
Now, my highlight personally is the winged boots. I already have people screaming at me about the helm of intellect. I'll talk about it in a second. My highlight is the winged boots because it gives you flying up to 4 hours a day at your walking speed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, we mentioned earlier, 10 rounds of combat is 1 minute.
1 minute.
Mhm.
And you get up to 4 hours worth of movement as long as you are spending at least 1 minute at a time. Okay. With this ability. As an artillerist or an alchemist with this, you become a massive danger because now you're floating up where most things won't be able to get you.
Yeah,
And as a bonus effect, this will piss off your DM.
for
Yep.
sure.
So
Adam would be mad.
Adam would be mad.
I mean, this is 10th level. They're gonna have ways of dealing with flying.
True.
Right. Alternatively, you could get your set of gauntlets of ogre strength or your helm of intellect.
Mhm.
Now, the gauntlets of ogre strength, if you are playing an armorer, is awesome. However, the helm of, you get 19 strength. The helm of intellect, if you are playing with like a stat array or low things, this gives you an 19 in your int.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is your main casting stat as an artificer. That is your main stat as an artificer straight up.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a 19 at level 10, this gives you a 19 at level 10, right?
For the cost of next to nothing.
Also, your wizard will just love you if they are in the same
If they
boat.
somehow don't already have a 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have an ability that boosts literally your entire class here at level 10.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard pressed not to take that. Let's move on to 14th level. At 14th level, you get the Amulet of Health, Belt of Hill Giant Strength, which boosts you to a 21, I believe.
Yeah, 21.
Boots of Levitation, Boots of Speed, Bracers of Defense, Cloak of the Bat. I'm Batman. Dimensional Shackles, Gem of Seeing, Horn of Blasting, Ring of Free Action. Doesn't do what you think it does.
No.
Ring of Protection, and Ring of the Ram for if you're a Super Bowl champion. I don't know who's won the Super Bowl. We recorded this before the Super Bowl happened, but the Rams are on this year. So
I cheerleaded for a football team called the Rams.
really?
Yep.
Learn something new every day. So my highlight on this is the Cloak of the Bat, and not for the reason you think. One, it gives you advantage on stealth rolls straight up. You just get advantage on stealth.
Yeah.
Two, if you are in dim light or darkness, you can fly as long as you grip the edges of the cloak.
It's a
Okay.
cape.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a cape.
No capes.
Also, you can polymorph as a literal bat once a day as long as you're in dim light and darkness, and you retain your mental stats when you do it. So really, really useful. Finally, the Cloak of the Bat gives you the ability to soar through the streets of Gotham as its stalwart protector from crazy clowns, cold scientists, and people with fairy tale fetishes. Also, you can annoy your friends and family by yelling, "I'm Batman" at them.
In
That
different
sounds like a
dialects and
perk to me.
voices. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Alternatively, should
I would
you
go
not
with the
wanna
Adam
be
West voice.
Batman and instead want to be the Flash, you can take the Boots of Speed, which lets you click your ruby slippered heels together and run twice as fast.
I was gonna say there's a weird theme going on here until you said ruby slippers, and then I was like, now we're in a whole different world.
We're in a whole different world. Now,
A whole new world.
any
Okay.
opportunity attacks against you for this movement, you still get it. You still get opportunity attacks should you be moving through things. Are at disadvantage against you, so you're harder to hit because you're a blur moving through the field. And this effect lasts for 10 minutes worth of time. That, like the winged boots, doesn't need to be concurrent. So if you are a monk and you were given these, like, holy shit, just holy shit. Okay.
Don't
So
sleep
guys,
on the amulet of health either.
pardon?
Don't sleep on the amulet of health
No,
either.
the amulet of health is major.
19
right?
constitution.
Yeah. If you are low on hit points, there you go. Right. So, guys, I want to roll initiative and ask one last question here before we wrap up the episode. Infusions for the Artificer. Do you like them? Why or why not? I got a 17.
16.
2.
Okay, I'll go first. Answer my own question. Yes, I love them. I wish all of the classes had an additional list of cool little things you could do. It's kind of Pathfinder-ish, so I could see why they didn't. But I love this kind of mechanic that they've given with invocations and infusions now. It adds a lot of personality, a lot of customizability to a class that I think they slept on when they were initially making D&D 5e. So
Yeah.
outside of the Warlock. So I really love them. They're not too powerful. They do give an edge, but it's not enough for a DM to easily compensate for. Yes, every time, yes.
Yeah. I can agree for all those reasons that I enjoy having infusions for these characters for that reason. The only thing that I would say I would like to keep an eye on, especially if I was DMing this or even just building a character, is I am a strong believer in that your abilities are a reflection of your character as a person. So sometimes I fear when we give people too many options within one area, they can spread that out to the point where their character has no actual emotional direction as to why they're doing what they are doing. So I've always had a very strong belief that if you're able to do an ability, you have to have a reason in your backstory as to why you can do that. So sometimes when it comes to these, when there's too many options, it can just gets muddled and confusing sometimes what kind of character you're trying to play. So that's the only warning I would give, to be careful when you're picking infusions and trying to decide what goes with your character. I'm a person who would lean into the personality side and what fits with the character as a person. There are people there that aren't that way and would want to min-max this, which means you're going to have a muddled piece of, in my mind, hot garbage. So that's just my fair warning. Otherwise, I do enjoy them and I love them as they are, and I don't think they're overpowered in any way, shape, or form, and I enjoy them a lot. But that's my feeling.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with what you were saying there, Megan. 100% pick these based on the flavor of the character that you're building, not necessarily the power level. But that's actually what I love about these, is there are so many different ways to flavor a character. Right?
Yeah.
If you are the sort of person who has analysis paralysis and has a hard time picking what their action is going to be when you're playing the barbarian and you can't think about whack, Artificer is not the class for you.
Oh my God, what an inventory nightmare. Can I just say?
Yeah. No, Artificer, especially when you take infusions into account, I love them, but this is made for the person who is going to sit down with their character and really think about what they want to do.
Yeah, this is your obsessive character builder. This is your person.
But in a good way, right? This
Yeah.
gives you a lot of options. It really lets you do that a lot of classes, once you kind of get past the first couple levels, you're set down a path and you kind of know where you're going.
Yeah.
Artificer really lets you, and Infusion specifically, really lets you kind of adapt to your situation. And for that, I love them.
Yeah. Any inspirations for the class before we wrap up, guys? Any other little notes we want to say about what we got with Artificers?
I joke, but this is by far my favorite class. The fact that I haven't played one is mostly just due to the fact that either other people at the table want to play them, or I just feel like they don't fit in with what I want to do for a campaign. I
mean, they even have lightning damage mechanically built in. Brad,
You can make a Thor character, Brad.
You can make a Thor.
Here it is.
Make literally Thor
with a returning hammer.
With a returning hammer. You can make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
I am convinced that I enjoy them. I think I'm convinced, but I probably would not play them. My brain does not understand complicated things. So this to me can bode for the complication that I would forget 90% of what I am capable of doing. So do I love them? Yes, for someone else, however.
Yeah, you want to play with one, not play one.
But not be
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to be one, and Armorer really sold it on me. It was always my favorite one, but our conversation today is Armorer is 100%
Cool.
direction.
Like it's a neat little dude. So
I legit wanted to play one, but every single like for our current campaign, Megan. But every single time I looked at it, I'm like, okay, and mix in this thing, and mix it. Like it was this character build multi-class monstrosity that I was building, and Artificer leads really well into that. And I love it for that. And then I believe it was you, Adam, and Dave all gave me the challenge. Dan, you need to actually play a character the same class from level 1 to level 20. And then we started a new campaign. I'm like, you assholes.
we
Because I
did
want
that.
to play an Artificer. And I know if I'm going to play an Artificer, I'm going to want a multi-class.
Yeah. Whereas I have my monk
Wait.
who's now wanting to multi-class an artificer so that I can throw things.
Yes.
Because
Whereas
currently I play a monk that throws.
I look at
things.
Artificer and I don't want to multi-class it because I love everything, especially if you look at the base class. I mean, we've covered that in the past episode.
Ultimately, the base class is you only get 5th level spells. Like the base class is great. It's very, very great. But really, you get up to the point where you could attune 4 magic items.
Yep.
You don't need to go further than that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things like I want to multi-class with it. So that's why I'm playing the Bard now instead. But my next character 100% is an Artificer. Oscar when we hit the next campaign, I'm playing a half-orc Artificer. That's what I'm doing. I've already talked to Adam about it, and he's like, I don't like it. I'm like, too bad I'm doing it.
We're doing it. So
Anyways, that is it for our discussion on Artificers, but we've got a lot more ground to cover with a lot of other classes and subclasses. So subscribe or follow and check back regularly to see what inspirations and insights we'll have for you in the future. Next week, we will be returning to our conversation on hags for the last time.
are you sure?
For now.
For now.
Yeah, for the last time for now.
Love that for you. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we do have a donate button on our website at www.itsamimic.com, as well as a store for some awesome merch. We also rely on word of mouth to get news of the podcast out there to the community. So please pass the word to everyone you know that we're available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as most podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Inquiries, requests, and questions for our mailbags can be sent to info@itsamimic.com.
All right, so we touched on it briefly. Let's do a bit of a deeper dive into the homunculus servant. There's a lot to talk about here.
It's Servant.
Yeah, sorry, servant.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
not.
The homunculus servant.
Homunculus Servant.
No.
It would be if you were playing in Ravenloft.
It's true. Absolutely. I agree. Anyways, go on.
Anyways, all right,
what do we got?
let's do a bit of a deeper dive here. So we touched on it. Our AC of 13. Hit points are equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier plus the number of d4s equal to your artificer level. So it scales with you. Flying speed, we talked about 30 feet, only 20 feet walking. They're short, stout little things. Actual physical stats are low. I mean, it has next to no strength. They're somewhat dexterous. Con's good, int's okay, wisdom's okay, charisma's not anything to be impressed by.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do want to point out is they actually have immunity to poison, exhaustion, and the poisoned condition, Adam's favorites.
Yeah.
And it understands any language you speak. So as long as you can speak a language, you can talk to this thing. So if you want to speak secretly to it, you can just choose any language you'd like. Interestingly, its CR is specifically related to your proficiency bonus for whatever that's worth. DMs, if you're calculating
It's worth
it.
nothing.
It's really worth nothing. Humongous, let's touch real quick. They get evasion, just like monks do. So if you succeed on a dexterity saving throw, you take no damage.
I mean, rogues also get it.
I feel like all they do is dodge stuff.
What did I
they
say?
Monks.
Oh, did I say monks? Yeah, I was
Well, I
actually
mean, you're
thinking
right.
of
Monks
rogues.
get it, but
Monks do get
also
it, but I
rogues.
was funny enough. I was actually thinking of rogues, so it's funny that I said.
You know,
monks.
historically, rogues.
You know, rogue, That's where my mind was. I'm surprised I said monks.
We talked about monks today. That's why.
As for an attack, they get a force strike, which is a d4 of force damage plus your proficiency bonus. And it actually has a 30-foot range, by the way. It is not a melee attack. And they can also deliver any touch spell that you can cast. They can deliver it for you as long as they're within 120 feet of you.
This is massive. That last reaction to one, it is their reaction to do it. So they do not get attacks of opportunity or anything if they do this. 2, within 120 feet delivering a touch spell. Cure Wounds is a touch spell.
Yes, it is.
Right? So now your Cure Wounds, and they deliver it.
Yes.
Okay? They can hold on to that spell and then deliver it after the move.
Oh, interesting. That's a good way of putting that.
Okay? So you kind of cast that spell on them, and then they're the one who activates it on their turn as a bonus action. So there are endless opportunities here with this.
Yes and no, because their turn is technically after your initiative, is it not?
Yes,
True,
it is.
True. But if you say, I need you to cure that guy, he's the gnome rogue that just ran across the field for the entire first 4 rounds. It's going to take the homunculus 2 turns to get there, right?
True.
It could fly across the field.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
Like it's very, very it opens up a lot of capability. Again, you only have 5th level spells. You don't have a whole hell of a lot of spell slots. So use this sparingly. And wisely.
Obviously, and it has to, again, be on a touch spell. So prepare your spell slots accordingly, at least knowing that this is an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to create this, you need a gem or crystal worth 100 gold pieces. Like Megan mentioned earlier, this is kind of the heart of the creature.
Yep.
So should the artificer or the homunculus die, the homunculus itself vanishes, leaving the heart behind. So there's just 100 gold piece gem or crystals sitting there.
Yeah.
Interesting things I noticed here. A lot of flavor for these, right? You can literally make them look like whatever you want to. They are going to be a clockwork sort of device, something mechanical, so keep that in mind. But the shape is up to you, so it can be as personalized as your artificer is. Really, really interesting. The other one too is, as far as you mentioned that Megan, that they take their turn right after you in initiative.
Yeah.
They can do nothing with their action other than dodge, unless you as the artificer use your bonus action to command one of the other actions.
Yeah. So it's like another step that you have to take. So
Exactly.
if you're casting a spell, you have to bonus action.
You have to use your bonus action, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're using your bonus action, have it do anything but dodge.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. One thing I noticed, and I think DMs take a note of this, because of the fact if the homunculus dies, it doesn't have a lot of hit points. It's not going to be hard to do. Have somebody on the battlefield pick up that gem and run off with it. You just create a new plot point for your artificer, right?
Yeah.
This 100 gold piece gem has disappeared. They can no longer summon their homunculus. Play with that. Obviously, you're not going to do it all the time, but at least once.
What a dick move.
Yes, it is.
Adam.
It's a one shot. It's a one shot, right? Like,
all right, I accept.
Yeah. You're not gonna have this missing from your artificer forever, but you can definitely make a really fun plot point out of this. Make a new enemy. Do what you need to do. I recommend a kobold or a goblin.
I will always recommend kobolds or goblins.
So, guys, do you know the history, like the real world history of homunculi?
Are you going to tell us?
No.
I want to.
Break it down for us.
Okay, so homunculi are stemmed from mid 16th century alchemy. Okay, there are some older versions of that within folklore, but the first real mention of an actual homunculus is attributed to a guy by the names of Paracelsus.
Great name.
That's a name.
Okay? A great D&D name. Now, there are a couple topics on the podcast we don't talk about. Unfortunately, the original creation of homunculus has to bounce against one of those topics. So here is the method outlined by Paracelsus to create a homunculi. The sperm of a man be putrefied by itself in a sealed cucurbit for 40 days with the highest degree of putrefaction from a horse's womb. This is super fun, guys.
I love it. Keep going.
Gross. Why are we going here?
At least so long that it comes to life and moves itself and stirs, which is easily observed. After this time, it will look somewhat like a man, but transparent without a body. If after this, it be fed wisely with the arcanum of human blood, so plasma, and be nourished for up to 40 weeks and be kept in the even heat of the horse's womb, a living human child grows therefrom with all of its members like another child, which is born of a woman, but much smaller. Okay.
Gross.
Creepy times, but homunculi were basically little servants that you could grow using bodily fluid and a horse's womb.
Great.
Super gross. If this is gross, there is another form of homunculi that we should all know, and that is called the mandragora. And this is from popular folklore.
All right, Dan, take a deep breath and dive in.
Okay. Damn it, Megan. This is just going to be quick. The mandragora are known in German as the Ellerina. They are another one of these big create your own servant kind of thing. And there is a person by the name of Jean-Baptiste Pitois who created a book of magic in the 1500s. So take with this a grain of salt, who outlined what a mandragora is. And this is a lot easier. This is to create a mandragora as powerful as the homunculus, which he calls a little man in a bottle, which is funny to me.
Yeah.
Find the root of a plant called the byrony. Take it out of the ground on a Monday, the day of the moon, a little time after the vernal equinox. Cut off the ends of the root and bury it at night in some country churchyard in a dead man's grave. For 30 days, water it with cow's milk in which 3 bats have been drowned. This is like old style magic stuff that I'm not 100% comfortable with, it's all nonsense, but like it's that level of folklore twisted occult that I really find interesting.
Yeah.
On when the 31st day arrives, take out the roots in the middle of the night and dry it in an oven heated with branches of verbena, then wrap it in a piece of dead man's winding sheet and carry it with you everywhere. That is how you get a mandragora.
Love it.
Why is no one doing this?
Because it doesn't work, because this is kind of similar to creating golems in Jewish folklore, have the same level of thing.
I'm sorry, have you tried it, Dan?
No.
Yeah.
No.
How can you say it doesn't work when you haven't done it yourself?
And no, it very well could work. I don't want to try.
Report back to the class.
No.
You give it a go and report back to the class.
I don't want to try.
You brought it up. It's on you.
We could have left Don't you put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put this. This is how blood plagues are started. All right. Let's not do this.
You brought this up. It's on you now.
But the idea of homunculus, what I'm trying to get across here, is one that is one of the oldest concepts in D&D. Homunculi are older than our modern ideas of what orcs and goblins and everything are. So like the fact that they are like the separation of kobold and goblin is a newer concept than homunculi. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those aspects, as someone who is fascinated by folklore and stuff like that, that whenever I see the word homunculus, I get excited. I like having homunculus in my games. I am especially happy that they are not created the same way. They are a gem
I much
and a
prefer the mechanical
treasure.
version.
I'm happy with that.
More of a PG rating here in 5th edition D&D.
Yes. So I love them.
Please.
But remember, everybody, when you're playing D&D, a lot of these bullshit made up fantasy words like homunculus have some roots that are incredibly interesting. And as a DM, if you are hitting a stumbling block into what to throw your party against, looking up the origins of some of these words is rife of inspiration.
True. Yeah.
Or sorry, fuck, I'm having troubles here. Sorry.
Can you just get your shit together?
I'm trying.
Thanks for listening. Bye.